Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, Kestra IS, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC, Kestra AS, an affiliate of Kestra IS. Capital Advisory Group, Inc. is not affiliated with Kestra IS or Kestra AS. Neither Kestra IS nor Kestra AS provide legal or tax advice and are not certified public accounting firms.
You work hard for your money. For the next hour, you're going to learn how to keep what's yours. Capital Advisory Group presents Keep What's Yours. Here is Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Hello and welcome to Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Zufall. He is Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, happy Saturday.
Talking taxes, talking the economy, talking everything, because everybody has to pay taxes.
Yes.
And at some point down the line, you know, I'll get the paper and I'll kind of look at the business section and then I'll say, well, this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. That has nothing to do with me. At some point.
It does.
It does. Right?
Unfortunately, you get involved in it whether you want to be or not.
Whether you want to or not.
Yes.
Because I've got a little money stacked away in a
Exactly.
401k and a Roth and all that stuff. And what's going on in the business section is what's going on in my 401k.
Yes. Yes,
as
sir.
we speak.
Yes.
So how is the business section doing?
So a little bit better for the month of January so far. We've had some positive, I'll call it, increases. So if you look at some of your statements, it's okay to look at it for the month of January.
Okay.
Even though the month's almost over with. So the question, though, we have the big question, excuse me, is the second week of February, Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates. And again, question is it a quarter or is it a half? And what the feds are saying is they're going to slow down their progression of rate hikes. And everybody's kind of leaning towards a quarter point. It does not mean they're done. It just means that they're pausing a little bit. So every time the old adage is you can't fight the Fed, which means if the Federal Reserve raises interest rates while you're an investor, the market typically will take another leg down. So that's where we sit right now. Inflation is still, I believe, 7.1% as we sit. If you've been to the grocery store lately, it's even more than that. It's a crazy number.
And it's one of those things, you kind of explained it to us. Even the experts on ABC, when they jump in, I say, hey, Jeff told me this. Is this true? And they'll say, yeah, that's true. The inflation numbers that we see, 7.1% right now, that is for everything but
food and oil,
gasoline,
yes,
and grocery stores, which technically, Jeff, that's all I'm spending money on these days.
That's pretty much the bulk of what you spend money on.
So I don't know why they keep that out of the inflation numbers at large.
The issue is back in the 80s when we had double-digit inflation like 18, 19, 20%, the Federal Reserve came along and said, hey, let's adjust the way that we report inflation. And they let them get away with it. Mm-hmm. So it does have some exclusions to it. It's sitting today, anybody go to the store, you go to the grocery store, I guarantee it's anywhere between 12 and 18%.
Oh, and eggs. Don't even get me started on eggs.
I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff. And then everybody's like, oh, it's a conspiracy. You know, they're price gouging and this and that. It's supply demand, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there probably is some price gouging going on. Or
there probably is, where somebody could take advantage of it.
Greedflation,
yes.
which is what we've been talking about for years now.
Yes.
I understand leaving gas and oil out of that number just because that number fluctuates wildly no matter what.
It could be a storm in the Gulf.
Gulf.
They say, gas prices
war in
went
Ukraine.
Up. Yeah.
OPEC just deciding one day, let's charge more.
Yeah. We don't really need to pump as much, so we'll just cut back.
We'll just cut back on oil.
Yeah, just because.
Yeah.
But there's got to be an alternative motive to that on why they're doing that. And they know they could reach out and kind of smack us in the head, and they do it. So.
Yeah. So I understand that being out of it, but everybody buys gasoline, but everybody goes to the grocery store. Got to eat.
Got to eat. You have to.
Got to get milk. I think, Jeff, everyone's flipping out about the eggs and everything. As long as I'm not a baker or, I don't even know what you make with eggs and stuff. I think I can live without eggs for a while.
Maybe a week or two.
Big breakfast guy.
Scrambled eggs are good.
Big breakfast guy over here. And then, if you want French toast.
Exactly.
If you want the bread to make the French
That's
toast,
right.
somebody needs the eggs somewhere in the process.
Exactly.
They're in everything. So just watch out. But it won't be in our inflation numbers. You were telling me before we got started here, 7.1% inflation for the U.S.
Yes.
But thank God we don't live in Turkey.
Yes. Some, I say third world countries, our inflation is nothing compared to what they're going through. It's literally, you leave with $1 in your pocket in the morning, you're going to come back, it's going to take a wheelbarrow full of dollars to buy that same item. And it's crazy.
Turkey's inflation is 84%.
Yes.
Argentina, I wouldn't even say these are third world countries. Turkey's is in the EU.
Yeah.
Argentina is, Buenos Aires.
Exactly.
Beautiful country.
But
97% inflation.
Yes. It's crazy numbers.
What does that mean? That means that everything that I bought last year is now double?
Double
So
this year. If it cost you $1 last year, it costs $2 this year. If it cost you $100, it costs you $200 this year.
How does their economy function like that?
Because I say this honestly, it's they don't have a Federal Reserve that is, I say in a roundabout way, manipulating the economy to make it do what it needs to do. So that's the problem.
Just imagine waking up and everything is double.
It's happened many, many times before in history where their inflation has skyrocketed and people literally are, they do have, like I'll say, a third world population where they're not the high income earners in a sense, and they're just stuck.
Yeah, and we've seen those wheelbarrows full of cash out of post-war Germany, post-First War.
Exactly.
Germany, the Weimar Republic, and the wheelbarrows full of people burning it just for
fire starters.
Yeah. Holy cow. It probably costs more money to print all that money out than to just...
Than what it's worth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's wild stuff out there. Russia's at 12%. Italy's at 11%. UK 10% in inflation. We're ticking downward.
We're ticking downward slowly. So the Federal Reserve, it's not over by no means. And the fear is back in the late 70s, early 80s, Federal Reserve ratcheted up interest rates, said, hey, all clear signal, we're good. And then they decreased interest rates, and guess what? Inflation jumped up again and raised its head. They had to go through the whole cycle all over again. So that's why hopefully our Federal Reserve today will take a little bit more of a cautious approach on that. And that's the difference between a hard landing and a soft landing.
Yeah.
Soft landing means we kind of flutter right in. Everything's okay. Will that happen? That's a whole nother question. Hard landing is when they go, oops, we overstepped our boundaries or didn't do enough, and inflation shows back up again.
All right. Well, let's all hope for that soft landing. Now, we're talking about the landscape, the nationwide landscape, even the international landscape. It's talking about Argentina and Turkey's inflation. But let's go hyper-local. And I'm not even talking St. Louis County. Let's go right into St. Louis City. And on the front page of the newspaper, the St. Louis earning tax rears its head. And people who didn't work in the city, their companies are based in the city, but during the pandemic, they never went into work.
Yeah,
they're sitting back saying, well, why am I paying 1% earnings tax if I never even went to work in the city?
Exactly. So if your employer is based out of the city of St. Louis, you have to file the 1%. You have to pay the 1% tax on your earnings. If you are a county resident, but yet you work in the city, you're supposed to still pay this 1%. If you're a city resident and you work in the county, you're a resident of the city, you still have to pay the 1%.
So it's for people that live there and people that work there.
So if you work in St. Louis County, your company's based in St. Louis County, you don't pay it.
Okay.
But if your company's based out of the city and you're a county resident, you've got to pay it.
And I've always said this is so weird because you work in the city, you're there 5 days a week during normal times. You get taxed by the city, 1%. It's just 1%, but it's still, everything counts. 1%. 1% counts. But you don't get to vote for the mayor. You don't have any say in anything that goes on in the city. What was the Tea Party slogan? Taxation without representation.
Yes.
How is it possible that the city of St. Louis can tax me, but I don't get, I understand use taxes.
Sure.
I rent a car in a city. I stay in a hotel.
Exactly. You're going to pay that. Yeah.
I'm using things.
Exactly.
But this is an income tax.
It's an income tax. It was formed years ago. There's been many a debate. Lawsuit over it. I think it's come to vote a couple of times, and it keeps getting voted back in.
Yeah.
So I think the city needs it just to help the budget.
I got to imagine it's a decent chunk of money.
Well, it's got to be. So that's kind of where we're at today. So if these people who live in the county, never even went in, can start a lawsuit and see what happens, maybe they'll come up with something.
I was reading something like in the either Missouri charter or the city, county charter, whatever. You cannot start a class action lawsuit against the city, which maybe benefits them, but now they have hundreds of thousands of individual lawsuits of which every me is suing and you're suing and they're suing and he's suing. Yeah. That's going to be a nice clog. I hope all that Rams money doesn't go to paying legal bills.
It's not supposed to. It's supposed to be sitting in a high-interest money market.
Yeah.
So hopefully they could get 3 or 4% on that while they're sitting there and make a ton of money.
Pay back that 1% that they owe to people that never had to come into the city for work during the pandemic. Now, here's a question. And I guess, my wife works in the city. We live in St. Charles County.
You pay the 1%, or she pays the 1%?
She pays the 1%. And if she's in the office one day out of the year, I understand them saying, "Oh, we got you."
Yeah.
But if you're in the office none days a year,
exactly,
and you work from home in St. Louis County or St. Charles County, I can see the argument.
And that's something that I'll say from COVID coming forward. So 3 years, really was not that prevalent in the past. A lot of people didn't work from home. Very, very finite people were working from home, and now it's very commonplace. One of the tax laws is home office deduction. Even if you work from your house day in, day out, and you're an employee, W-2 employee, you do not get a deduction. You used to get a 2% exemption, so you could take a little bit of it, but today there's no tax adjustment at all for working from the house.
From working from home
now,
as an employee.
As an employee. If you have your own business, that's totally different. You get a ton of write-offs. So this has come up, I believe, a few times before.
And you kind of, you told us before, you said if your home office is in the back of the house, you can only claim the square footage of the home office. And then when you go to take, depreciation of your house. You take
depreciation? Yeah.
You can't take depreciation of the home office because it's separate.
Well, no, you still take depreciation of the home office. You get a piece. So the way to look at it is, let's say you own your own business. Mm-hmm. Your house is 1,000 square feet. Your office is 100 square feet. That's 10%. Mm-hmm. So then your utilities, your depreciation, everything will be based upon 10%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So which is good. I mean, there is a recapture possibly if you're taking the depreciation at a later date. If you have this home business for 20 years, it's going to be a recapture of some of that depreciation when you sell the house. But typically the trade-off is the taxes you're saving today offset that recapture down the road, way down the road.
Yeah.
But again, the debates come up many a times with the amount of people. I believe the last report I said it was 12% of people work from home now, whereas that was in single digits a couple pre-COVID.
Is that full time?
Full time.
Full time.
Yeah. Never leave the house. They work straight from their house.
I'll bet a lot more do hybrid.
Well, I guarantee it. Where they're 2 days in the office, 3 days, at home.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, but there's no provisions within the tax laws as we can see it today that are going to give any, help to somebody that's working from home.
You got a home office?
I do.
Yeah. Do you claim it?
No, I don't claim it because I have a whole nother building that I use that I pay rent and the whole shoot and match on. So I use my home office every day, every night, typically.
Can you claim both?
You technically should not. If you're paying rent somewhere, you should not be claiming a home office because it's your primary business.
Primary place of business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you are a small business or you do work from home or you do business out of your house but you don't have an office to hang your hat, there are things that you can take deduction-wise that you might not be taking.
Exactly. A lot of people are always, when we talk it, they're always like, oh, gosh, I don't want to take that. Why not? It's in the tax code. It's to your advantage. You're not going to get audited because you say you have a home office. There's a ton of people working from home today. It's mainstream. So maybe down the road they'll add something to say, hey, if you're a W-2 employee, you work from home, you're still using electricity, so on and so forth. What we see typically is your employer will pay for internet possibly, or supply you with a computer, but you're still burning electricity day in, day out. So,
yep. And if you have questions about this stuff, if you're a small business or you're someone that works from home full time, give Jeff a call, 636-394-5524. That's Capital Advisory Group. Give Jeff a call, and he can sit down and say, well, what's your setup?
Yeah.
What do you got working? Are you ever in office? Are you ever out of office? Yeah. Company car, all this stuff. You can say, this works, this doesn't.
Exactly. Don't go there. It's going to get you in trouble.
Yep. Take this deduction. Don't take that deduction because you don't technically qualify for it. Someone brings you the past couple of years of tax returns, and you see something on there, and you say, hey, you probably shouldn't have taken this.
Yeah.
You can fix that.
We can fix it. We can amend returns, add, subtract stuff. Super simple.
Because you just want to be on the right side of the law.
Yes.
And within, Jeff always calls them guardrails. Driving down the highway, as long as you stay in the guardrails, you're good to go. Yeah. You veer off into the ditch.
Whole another story.
I mean, I think that analogy speaks for itself.
And again,
there's police down there and IRS agents down there waiting for you.
More so IRS agents. No.
Yeah.
And again, going forward, if this is really true that there are 80,000 IRS agents that are hired over the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot more people. Everybody's like, oh, man, there's 87,000 people out there running around looking for me. Not necessarily. Like we were talking about, 2,500 of them do carry a gun. That's what they're collections guys, basically. And from what we heard, 500 retired. Well, 500 are retiring. They have to replace 500 of them. But there's still 2,500 of those guys that are, carrying a weapon. The rest, 44%, we're going to be clerical, which means they answer phones.
Paper pushers.
They push paper. They get stuff done. They need those people.
We don't have those people right now.
We don't.
Try to get somebody from the IRS on the phone. Good luck.
It's insane. So hopefully over the next couple of years, where I'm going with this is if you're taking some of these weird deductions, nobody's looked at your return for the last, pre-COVID, just because they don't have the manpower to do it.
Right.
They will here shortly. And when they do, they come back, and it could be 3 years after the fact. So if we're in 2023 and in 2026, an IRS guy says, hey, we're going to audit you, you got to go backwards 3 years and figure out, hey, what I put on paper.
That's interesting. So with the new agents that are hired, they can go back and look and say, all right, well, this guy claimed this year. What were they claiming 2 years ago? They can retroactively go back.
Yeah, they'll be able to go back 3 years.
So I can call you today, 636-394-5524, and say, I'm a little worried. I've been pretty loosey-goosey with my books, and if they're hiring a bunch of IRS agents, I don't want to be on the wrong side of the law. Can you help me amend my tax returns?
Yes. Common sense says to tighten your
and
stuff.
then you do that, and you tighten it up, and will I owe the IRS? Maybe cut a small check?
It's possible. If you amend returns and take stuff off, you could owe some money. And there's cases where there's money on the table that was overlooked, so you get a refund back.
Well, look.
Could go both ways. Just depends upon what your situation is.
So Jeff can take a look, and he can do the mini audit before the IRS has a chance to come in and just say, we're looking good, or you can make some adjustments here, or you want to be wary about this there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, I had mentioned this. If you're a small business or someone and you said, well, I used to file this way all the time, and the IRS never called me. Why are you coming down my throat now?
Exactly.
Well, because they didn't have enough manpower to look at it, and you told me this, Jeff, don't tell the IRS, well, I've been getting away with this for years.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
They don't like that.
Then they'll say, well, let's take a look.
They'll open up everything out there.
Let's take a look at what you've been doing for
start
years.
saying, hey, what's 5 years ago look like? And honestly, most people can't find the documentation. If you are a small business owner, document.
Yep.
Keep everything that you can. If you walked in my basement of my house, you would laugh. In a storage area in the back is 20 years worth of paper boxes.
Oh, really?
filled with just our personal business stuff that we keep sitting there. How would you say it? Like we have a digital vault for our clients, so everything can be uploaded on a digital vault.
No, it's before the technology.
But it's before the technology. So,
and if you are mad that the IRS is coming in and actually doing the law, doing what's in the law, you can't be mad that you got away with something.
No, play by the rules. I mean, seriously, going forward, it's going to take them a couple of years to round these people up. Again, I think one of the first votes that the House Republicans put in there was to abolish the IRS.
This session.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to fly.
You're right. Well, who do I pay my taxes to then?
Yeah.
Do I not pay taxes anymore?
It's goofy what they were throwing out there, but I see where they're coming from. But again, it won't fly. IRS is going to be there. They're trying to defund these dollars that were given to the IRS. That's a possibility. But again, at the end of the day, they're already limping along. They need clerical people. That's what they're starting with. People to answer phones.
And as a tax preparer, on our benefit, you need someone to answer the phone.
Yes. So if anybody has even if you're using TurboTax and you run into a snag and you're like, I have a question. Right now, there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a prepare hotline. Which is for preparers, technical questions. You can't get half the time. You can't get anybody even answer that.
So it's one of these things, and people are going to yell at their radios when I say this. The IRS is there to help us. Ultimately, yes. I mean, we have to pay taxes.
You have to.
So there has to be some sort of governmental body that processes these things. If you can't get someone on the phone to talk to, when there's this much money at stake, this is my money.
Well, look at the dollars that are sitting out there from a collection standpoint that they've overlooked, if you want to call it that. So that's in a sense where they were coming from originally, saying, "Hey, all these people that are self-employed are all tax cheats. We're going to make them pay their fair share." Every time I hear that, I want to throw something at the radio or the TV when they say "pay your fair share." I mean, that's objective depending upon who's saying it. Mm-hmm. But, that's kind of what they're saying is, pay your fair share.
What's my fair share?
That's the
who gets to decide that's what's fair.
There's tax laws put out there for a reason. You use them to your advantage.
So here's the deal. You have to pay taxes.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, until further notice.
Yeah.
And you need someone on your side to take a look at the tax code and say, Josh, this is where you can be saving some money. Josh, you should file this way. You should take this deduction. You can do that over here. No matter how hard we try, we have to pay the city's earning tax.
Yeah.
So there's no way around it, but maybe there's something over here that can offset it. You need someone looking at your taxes.
Yes. In your corner, looking at it to say, do this, don't do that.
And it's not every year. It's every time I get a paycheck. I should be calling Jeff up and saying, what more can I do? Maybe not that much overkill, but we go and see you once a quarter.
Yeah, but seriously, there's basically what they're saying now is 2023. It's a new year. We're a month into it, just shy of a month into the new year. Got 11 months and a week to go. The question is, look at your withholding. Look at your paycheck stub.
Look at your
What's
W-2s.
It look like so far?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a good time to reset.
Yes.
If you paid too much money in taxes last year, maybe there was a problem with your W-2s. Maybe you just change that out.
We've seen that. So, and again, I'll be nice when I say this. The state of Missouri and the IRS revamped the W-4s a couple years ago, and they're terrible. So if you've got a new job in the last year and you filled one out and sent it into your HR department and they started withholding tax, go back and do a quick calculation to see how comparable that is, last year's taxes versus this year's taxes. You may be amazed. So there's times where we see people, they bring us their paycheck stub and they're like, I got a new job in June. Here's what my check looks like. And we're like, whoa, you're not even close.
Yeah, you can eyeball this stuff.
Oh, you kind of eyeball it within a range. But what you'd look at is if you're sitting at home, look at your W-2, January W-2 or paycheck stub as you sit today, compare it to last year, compare it to the year before. And what you're looking for is the projected off for the year. How much did you pay in tax? And if you're close, good, you're okay. But if you're way off by thousands, there's an issue, and they'll sneak up on you.
So you're running between two things. Do I owe taxes or do I get a refund? Jeff, has there ever been anyone in the history of the United States that just nailed it? Threaded the needle,
No.
and they were like, I paid exactly the amount I got no refund, I don't pay money, I nailed it.
It's impossible. It's $1, give or take. I think I've seen $1 or $2 either way.
Yeah.
But no, it's an impossibility. Unless you make $500 a year, then you could probably zero that in.
Right. Well, if you make $500 a year, good for you.
Yes.
But most of us have pretty difficult tax returns to put together, so you probably need someone in your corner. 636-394-5524 for this time of year to do your taxes, and for the rest of the year to prepare and make sure that we're keeping as much money on our paychecks, in our pocketbooks, as we possibly can without sending any more.
Yes.
Not a penny more.
Not a penny more.
To the federal
Than
government.
what you're legally obligated to pay.
Or the state government is that. Tell me this. Earnings tax in the city of St. Louis. 24% is my federal rate. 5% basically is what the state takes out.
Yes.
And then if I lived or worked in the city, 1% from there.
Yes.
Are they taking that from the top
dollar
on gross on my paycheck, or is it federal takes out first, and then whatever's left over, 5% of that, and whatever's left over, 1% of that?
State gives you a little bit of a credit for federal taxes paid, but city taxes, the full.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you make $80,000 before taxes, they're taking 1% of $80,000.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's how it's based.
All right. So my effective tax rate, if I lived in the city, 30%.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Woof. Well, how can I keep more of my money? Well, call Jeff, 636-394-5524. We're saving money on my son's daycare. Keeping money, I should say. Keeping money in a couple other places. There's something. If you're not doing anything, Jeff can do something for you.
There's something.
We can find something
subtle,
for you.
subtle little adjustments that you make as you go forward.
Yep. So we'll talk about that and more after this commercial break. Keep what's yours. Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. 636-394-5524. We'll be right back.
Keep What's Yours continues with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Back on the Big 550 KTRS, back to Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. Jeff, I have been telling you for the past couple of weeks, once we hit Jan 1st, then all the tax commercials start flooding the airwaves. So I'm keep telling you about this guy that I hear is, if you haven't paid your taxes in a year, the IRS is coming after you. They're coming for you. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Let's rewind. If you haven't paid your taxes for years, why aren't you paying your taxes? The IRS should be coming for you.
They should. They just don't know.
They should have tracked you down by now.
They don't know where you're at. They don't know what you got going on. So as you move forward, just subtle little things will trip it off. 1099s that are floating out there that have never been reported, they'll slowly start kind of reaching out to you with nice letters. Saying, hey, you might want to file your tax returns, or hey, you have a credit on file, weird stuff like that.
And I think the idea is that the IRS is so short-staffed that they are just so behind.
That's the issue. And again, so behind. Now that we say that does not mean to not file your taxes.
That you can get away with one.
You will not get away with it.
Right.
Just period.
They will track you down.
They will catch you.
Yes.
It's a matter of time. So again, if anybody's out there that didn't file tax returns, and you say, well, I know I owe, so I'm not going to file. Just file the return. The penalties for failure to file are huge.
Yeah.
Just file it and then work out a payment plan with the IRS.
They don't like that.
Yeah, you can sleep at night, and yes, you have this debt or bill sitting out there, but so be it. It is what it is.
They're fine with the payment plans. They don't like when you just ignore them.
Yeah. And if you ever receive anything certified mail from the state or the IRS, they want to talk to you.
Yeah. And, let's be honest. I'm not really too happy with people that don't pay their taxes.
Yeah.
It's like I'm putting in You know,
Exactly.
this is we're all here together.
And a lot of people, they get a year or two behind, and they're like, oh, and they're embarrassed, and they just don't know what to do.
I get it. I've been there.
Just don't put your head in the sand. Just get it filed.
Yeah.
And it basically clears the air.
Call Jeff, 636-394-5524. You can submit your tax return, and you say, well, how am I going to pay this? We'll figure it out.
Figure it out as we go.
But the longer you ignore it, that clock is ticking. Well, the dollar amount is going up with the penalties.
The dollar amount is going up because the interest rate that they charge you per quarter, I believe, is now 5.25%. 5.25% per quarter.
That's a lot of money.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. So
that's a lot of money.
Yes.
So the other commercial that I've heard, there's a new one out there. And this is one of those nationwide tax filing chains. They're like, file early, get it in as soon as you can, which we talk about on this show all the time. Do not rush your taxes.
Yes. If you only have a W-2 and you know for a fact that's all you have, yes, you could do that.
They're trying to file it as soon as you get it.
Yeah, they're trying to drive people to the door, basically. But if you have anything else beyond that, don't, because you'll probably overlook something from the previous year that you're missing.
But they're sitting here and saying, and giveaways and prizes for filing with us. And, one out of every, 200,000 people are subject to prizes. And it's like, I don't want a prize. I just want somebody to do it my taxes. Do it right, not charge me through the nose for it. Just get it done. What is your prize? I don't want your prize. What is this, a hat that says the tax company's name on it? Yes. No, thanks.
It could be.
Just do it right and get my taxes filed on time.
Yes.
So it's like if you hear that commercial, think of me and just imagine what it is that they're possibly going to. Prizes. You can win a prize for filing your taxes.
Yeah.
No, just have someone do your taxes.
If it's a new car, then that's a different story. But
well, one out of 100 million is going to win that new car. Just file your taxes with Jeff Zufall. Why? There is that one commercial, though. This one runs on TV. And I elbowed my wife, and I say, I talk to Jeff about this all the time. It's a guy on the couch, and he's got his toddler, and they're both taking a nap. And I think one of the taglines is basically, why would you spend your weekends trying to do your taxes when we can do them for you?
Exactly.
You can sleep on the couch with your baby.
Exactly.
And that's what we say every week. It's like, why are you trying to figure this out on your own, spending multiple weekends in March when the weather's just starting to get nice?
That's right. You go out and play. Yeah.
And go out and play. Let Jeff hates the weather. He just hates being outside. He loves being
I love a 73-degree day playing golf.
Well, that's the thing. Once April 15th comes around, then you get all the nice days, and Jeff gets to go out and play.
Exactly.
But until then, he is hunched over. You got one of those banker's lamps?
No, I threw it away.
What about that green visor?
No hat.
What about the adding machine?
Nope.
Jeff's here for us, and he doesn't charge that much money. So when you're thinking about getting your taxes done, I showed my wife the bill from last year, and she said, "Oh my gosh, that's it."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. She goes, I'll pay that
any day. Yeah.
Any day to not have to sit in the home office.
That's why I say if
receipts everywhere.
If you add up what your software cost to go buy the software, the time to buy it, the time to put everything together, prepare it, at the end of the day, it's a trade-off.
If you charge yourself an hourly rate to do your own taxes, you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I should have just had someone else do this.
Exactly.
So there's that. That's sitting out there. So don't believe the hype. That one TV commercial is right. You can be doing much better things with your time than doing your taxes, but don't necessarily just, go online and look up the nearest chain tax plate. Go to someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
That you can get on the phone, that you can talk to. You sit in the office. I'm looking at him right now. He's in town. He's local. I can guarantee
Not going anywhere.
Reach out and touch him. That's Jeff Zufall, 636-394-5524. All right. What are we looking at here? We've got IRS.gov for small businesses. They'll file your 1099s for free.
So if you're a small business, and I'd laugh at this, my age may show, in the past, as you got towards, into December, first week of January, you went to Office Depot, you bought your packet of 1099 W-2s, you took it home, you did the math calcs, you started filling all this stuff out. today, and they're a little late to the game, but they have a free filing for your 1099s. So you basically, it's the IRS filing platform. You have to enroll for it. So if you have a small business and you pay subcontractors, you now can actually don't have to worry about mailing stuff out, mailing it to the IRS. You just go to this. It's free filing. Load everything up. It e-files it automatically. You're done. You have receipts, the whole 9 yards.
And if you're a small business or you're self-employed or whatever, and you hire a contractor, every single time you need to submit a 1099.
1099. So technically, if it's over $600 that you pay them, you're supposed to issue a 1099. And again, at the end of the day, if you're not sure what that, so if you go to Home Depot and you buy supplies from Home Depot, you don't have to send Home Depot a 1099.
Okay.
But if you go down the street to your buddy and he's an LLC, the odds are you probably should issue a 1099 just to cover yourself and him.
But I can,
her.
as a small business, it's like, well, this is business costs. I want to make sure that it goes in as a write-off in the business bucket.
Yes.
Your buddy down the street might not appreciate getting a 1099 because then he has to tell the IRS.
Forced to report it. But that's why you're doing it. And that's why they want this 1099 reporting done. But again, some people we see get a little carried away filing 1099s all over the place. But again, at the end of the day, that's what you actually do. But this system will help you. So it's kind of cool little thing that they've put out. But they just put it out. You have 3 days.
Because you're supposed to send these out by the 31st.
Yeah, so Tuesday they'd be due. So it just was announced Thursday, Wednesday. I think Wednesday of last week they announced, hey, it's open, ready to go.
Sure.
So again, it's another tool that's out there. They say that they can handle small and large volumes of 1099s. So we'll see how this goes. It's only been open a couple of days. Go from there.
So if you're a small business and you have questions about this stuff, the IRS is coming out with software where you can file for free.
Yes.
Right? This is America. You're going to have to pay your taxes, but hey, at least we'll make paying your taxes free.
So I'll say the two companies that you were talking about, I won't say their name, all got sued 2021. Yeah, 2021. They were supposed to, part of their agreement with the IRS is they were supposed to put out on their websites, they were supposed to put out there the free filing form, which I think it's 73,000 or less. No 1099s, and interest and dividends. And
pretty
stuff like
easy
that.
ones. If you got easy tax returns, you can file for free.
Yeah. The problem is you could not find their free filing form on their websites. If your life depended on it, they were buried. You couldn't get to them. They were there, but there was tricks to get to it.
Right.
And since then, now the IRS has booted those two, and they're going to create their own.
Well, so like for instance, I would go to one of these websites and maybe I could file federally for free.
Well, yeah,
but then they would charge me to file my state.
Depending upon your state, they would get you $39.95 or $49. But they said it was
free to me.
Free. I think is what they said. In reality, it was not free.
Right. So the IRS came back and said, "Look, you have to do it for free," and they said, "All right, never mind. We're out.
We're out.
Yeah. We're not going to do this anymore."
So the only scary part is now, and this is kind of the IRS is the judge, jury, and executioner for this, and you go, can they really do that? Yeah, who knows?
Right, but to file for free is one thing. To have somebody in your corner, a phone call away, to say, Jeff, is this good? Jeff, can I do that? How can I keep a little bit more money? These are just forms on the IRS's website.
You just type it in, boom, 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 you're done. And you can only have a W-2, maybe two W-2s, and I think you're capped out. You can't do anything else. So that's the issue of the day. It's for very simple, easy tax returns. Honestly, if somebody came in, I'd say, you could go do that for free.
Right. Okay.
There's no reason for us to do that.
But
honestly.
For me, I've got a son. We've
totally
got
different. Yeah.
A condo that we rent out down in Gulf Shores. I've got a house now. I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
I think I might. As we're walking out of here today, you just mentioned 1099s have to be postmarked by January 31st. I'm going to say, Jeff, do I need to send out any 1099s? Because you're my tax preparer. So.
Technically, no. Yes,
Okay.
but no.
Right. So we'll talk about that. But it's like to have these questions, the IRS isn't going to be there to help you with this.
No, and they won't. I mean, their answer would be, yes, if you paid someone, you need to issue a 1099, which is your standard issue. But it's not that, hey, technically this happened. Should I do it?
Follow-up questions don't really exist with them. We'll get back to you in 6 months.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's out there. Postmarked by 31st. January 23rd is the first day to e-file. So people could have e-filed by now if they had a pretty easy tax
If you had an easy
situation.
tax return and you know there's nothing else coming, then you could e-file. We heard there was some difficulties on the 23rd, on Monday, where the weird errors were being kicked off, stuff like that. But it usually takes a day or two. They weed all that stuff off, and you're back at it. It's the most efficient way to file a tax return is e-file it.
Yeah, e-file.
Yes.
Don't stay away from paper. The IRS doesn't like it.
They are that's their kryptonite is paper showing up. It literally will take forever. We have clients where we don't have any choice. We have to mail stuff in, and they're like, "Wait, the IRS should respond in a timely manner." Well, our version of a timely manner and the IRS's version are night and day. So it's 6 months minimum, where we think, hey, we mailed this 2 weeks ago. Why didn't they respond? Right. And because it's sitting on a desk someplace and it won't be touched for 5 more months.
Maybe hiring more people will help get that process going.
Hopefully.
I understand that people are like, I don't want to give more money and employees to the IRS. I hate the IRS.
Bigger government scares everybody.
Yeah.
What's 7 worst words? I'm here from the government. I'm here to help. Or I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
Oh, no. But they are just a bunch of paper pushers and bean counters at the end of the day, and they're dealing with our return. I want my return processed as swiftly as possible.
Exactly.
If I have any problems, I want it taken care of in 2 weeks, not 3 months.
6 months.
6 months.
And then wait for a letter, hey, we're in receipt of your return, but we need 60 more days to process. And it's like, what?
Yeah. In a timely manner. 6 months. 6 months is a timely manner to you people? Well, that's the best we could do.
Yeah.
ERC credit, this is the employee retention credit. We've been talking about this as well. This is if you had employees during the pandemic and you didn't lay them off, if you kept them on the payroll, the government wants to give you a credit.
Yeah. So basically the second quarter of 2020, the deadline to start filing these is July 31st of 2023. The deadline's starting to come around the corner. They haven't hit originally nobody's really said what was appropriated dollar-wise to this, but now they're saying that the deadlines are coming. So if you were a business owner through, I believe, March 2020 when COVID kicked in to December 31st, and then it starts back up January 1 of 2021 to September of 21. Those are 2 different tax years. You paid your employees. You're going to get a credit back. I believe it's up to $10,000 per employee. And it's a credit. Now, when you get paid, you have to amend your tax return showing that you got paid this dollar. You decrease your expenses, basically, but it's okay. But the ability to file or claim this is coming to an end here shortly.
And I think when we first talked about this, you said it's not an unlimited bucket.
No, they haven't said what the dollars that are appropriated
what it is.
at.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I'll say it's tricky in a sense, the paperwork in there, because you can't claim. So if you got a PPP loan, but yet you paid your employees, you can't use the PPP against what you paid. They've got to be able to extract that data. There's a lot of data that gets put on paper.
Just like everything when it comes to taxes and tax preparation, it's as difficult as can possibly be.
Yes.
Which is all the more reason why you should call Jeff Zufall, 636-394-5524. But if you're a small business and you kept employees on, give Jeff a call and just say, hey.
Yeah, take the credit and run.
And there's commercials out there for these as well.
Yeah, tons of them.
Everybody, fly-by-night lawyers are trying to collect as many people as possible.
Exactly.
Because there's money there.
There's tons of money on the table for this one. This is huge.
I ran into somebody. I was at Party City, and I was picking up balloons for a birthday party. And the woman behind the counter was talking. I don't know why they were talking about this, but behind the counter is talking about the child tax credits.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, they bumped them up. They were $600.
Oh, yeah.
$600 and $300.
It was $250 or $300 depending upon the age of the child
per month.
Yes.
And the woman behind the counter says, I'm not taking that money. That's, the government is, they're going to follow me or they're going to ask for taxes or something. I'm not taking it. This was free money.
It's free money.
No strings attached. Yes. Free. I'm holding up balloons and I'm yelling at her. No strings attached. But I didn't talk to her about it. But after talking to you and figuring these things out, I'm like, people just don't know, and they're scared or they make assumptions about something.
And you're like, oh, I don't want that. I'm not going to take it.
The employee retention credit is free money.
Free money.
As long as you kept employees on the payroll, kept them off the unemployment rolls.
Exactly. That's what it was designed for, is to give a rebate back to the employers who were writing these payroll checks through COVID.
Thanks for keeping people off unemployment.
Yeah.
Here's a check.
Yeah, here's a check.
Appreciate it. Signed Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
So this is free money that is out there for you if you're a small business.
There's no free money, but it is free money. It's free money in the big scope of the picture, but no, it's still federal dollars that are being used. Tax dollars are being used to pay in.
Well, federal dollars, they were ours at once.
Exactly.
At one point. But this is money for small businesses that really pitched in during the pandemic and kept people working.
Going. Yeah.
Kept people working. Go out, find out how much you could be getting back. I want to go to commercial break, but when we come back, Jeff, just a couple small, fun little things.
Yes.
Little nuggets. Find out how much Tom Brady lost in that FTX collapse. Find out how much Elon Musk lost within the past year. Fun little things. 636-394-5524. Jeff Zufall, Capital Advisory Group. If you need someone to do your personal taxes, if you need someone to kind of audit your small business or to kind of take over the books, because frankly, Jeff, I use this all the time. I opened up a flower shop because I love flowers, and I have no idea how to do
how to run QuickBooks, how to do my payroll, all that fun stuff. We can handle it.
I didn't open up a business so I could do the books.
Exactly. No.
I want to be front of the house. I'll let you be back of the house.
Exactly.
636-394-5524. Keep what's yours. We'll be back to wrap it up in just a second.
Keep What's Yours continues with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
What's yours? Back on the Big 550 KTRS. Jeff Zufall, 636-394-5524. If you need your taxes done, this is the time of year. But if you have a small business or you have really complicated taxes that you just can't, I used to have my sister do it, and she came back to me at one point and said, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too complicated for me.
Exactly.
Find somebody. And somebody ended up being Jeff Zufall. We're looking at it. Top 1% of earners.
Yes.
We always hear the 1%ers. The
1%ers, yes. So,
I'm thinking top 1% are, multimillionaires.
Yeah.
What technically is being
they're
in
saying
1%?
If you are in the top 1%, you have annual gross income of $597,815. You're in the highest income earners in the U.S.
That's all.
That's it. You're in the 1%.
I mean, that's doable.
$600,000.
It's way out of my.
But $600,000 is your top 1%.
What about like a dual income?
Yeah, it's just household
income.
Yeah, gross household income is what they're saying.
I like to think at some point everyone can dream to maybe be at that point someday. That's still just think about how much money that is.
I tease my wife. I'm like, hey, you could, make $500-600. I could, do brunch early, play a little golf.
Yeah.
She doesn't like that comment.
Why don't you go back to work? Tom Brady was involved in the FTX stuff. I think he was doing commercials for them. Oh
yeah, he was a spokesperson for him doing
this
the
guy
whole
with
thing.
The crazy hair.
So this will make you feel better.
Totally mismanaged the whole thing.
Totally mismanaged. So at one point in time, Brady owned 1.1 million common shares of FTX, which at its peak would be worth $45 million, and it is worth zero today.
It just all disappeared.
Poof. Yes.
Where did all that money? Where does money go?
Well, it was a Ponzi scheme, so it really wasn't. The bulk of it didn't exist. Even though if you looked at any sports venue, Major League umpires had it on their vest.
That was that.
Yeah, FTX.
Holy cow!
He paid off both sides of the political parties. I mean, it's just crazy on the dollars that were put out there. I think hockey games on the boards, you could see FTX. That doesn't exist anymore. That's all digital. But that was the issue. I think a couple of maybe football teams, at least one or two football teams had FTX on their sleeves. It's worthless. So they're in this legal wrangling today to figure out where'd the money go. They've found tens of millions of bucks, but the consumer will get nothing at the end of the day, more than likely.
So we'll see if any criminal charges.
Yeah, but his court case isn't until September of 2023. It'll be the biggest fraud in the history, and
I guess they have to take time to get a case.
Yeah,
together.
they got to figure it out. Yeah. So
well, at least Tom Brady wasn't Elon Musk.
Yes. So Elon Musk has the world's record for losing the most money ever. So basically they're saying that his net worth, this will make you even feel better. There's people that love Musk, people that hate him. But at the end of the day, his net worth decreased by $183 billion in just over a year. Billion with a B.
He lost almost $200 billion in 1 year.
Yes. So Bloomberg placed the estimate right at just $200 billion total. So he owns the Guinness World Record for losing the most money ever.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. Yet. He can still buy anything he wants.
Anything he wants at any point in time.
He could buy every single football team in America and just have them play in his backyard.
Yeah. Don't give him that idea. He might.
Yeah, right. He's just crazy enough to do it.
Yes.
Well, maybe we can talk about how people can go bankrupt yet still be living in high-rise Manhattan apartments at the time. Reorganization, that's what they call it. Yep. It's keep what's yours. Before we worry about other people's money, let's worry about our own.
Yes.
Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. Do you exist? Are you a person? Do you pay taxes?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes to all of those. You need to have someone look at them for you, because if you're not doing anything, Jeff can almost certainly do something for you
a little bit
to help you keep more of what's yours. The name of the show, name of the book. It's Jeff's motto, 636-394-5524. We'll see you next week, Jeff.
You betcha. Thank you.
You've been listening to Keep What's Yours with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Manager at Capital Advisory Group. To learn more, call 636-394-5524 or visit CapitalAdvisoryGrp.com.